Welcome to another edition of Church Media Design TV tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the Church Media Designer. Well, I'm your host, Brad Zimmerman, and as always, I'm joined by my faithful crew, which one of them now is addicted to gambling, but it's the three wise men and Jesus. And we're back from our trip to Las Vegas and to San Diego. Congratulations to Benji and Ashley on the wedding. And we are so glad to be back. We have tons of great new stuff working up for you this week and coming down the line. So we're going to be covering audio mixing in Premiere. We're going to be giving you some free videos, some great inspiration. And at the end of the show, we're going to be telling you who won the first week of Where's Whitey. So without further ado, if the three wise men and Jesus are ready, let's get into it. Well, as you know, I was out in Las Vegas and then I went to San Diego. And I was in Las Vegas for my only brother's wedding. I was the best man in that. And while I was in Las Vegas, we taped those Where's Whitey episodes and did a few pretty uneventful things, but just hung out and I got to spend some good time with him, which was great. But while he was on his honeymoon, I stole his car, or borrowed his car, and drove to San Diego to visit some friends. And one of those friends works at a church out there, and on Sunday morning I was able to go to his church. One of the coolest things about this whole trip was I was able to gain some good perspective of I was in a way different environment than from where I'm from, and I went to a church that's a lot different than the church that I go to. It's very similar in a lot of ways, but very different. They were a multi-thousand person church, and I come from a church that's under 1,000. So, there's a lot of differences there, but it's really cool. The church is called East Lake Church. And my buddy Mike Morgan is the worship leader for student ministries at this church. He's also a songwriter, and you can find his music at myspace.com/the Mike Morgan site, or you can go to the MikeMorganSite.com and get his albums from there. So check out his music. He's a phenomenal songwriter, so I'd encourage you to check that out. But I got to check out what Mike does in student ministries, and then we went to a service, and I actually met Trevor, who is their technical arts director kind of guy on Sunday mornings. And one of the cool things when I was talking to him, and he actually watches the show, which was kind of weird for me to meet somebody who I didn't know who recognized me from the show, so that was kind of a fun first for me. But one of the cool things that when I was talking with him about is how volunteer-led their ministry was. And it's the same at Watermark where I work, but it was cool to hear that at a church that's around 5,000 or over 5,000, that they still have majority of people. The Sunday morning I was there, he said he had rookies working the lights, the back screen for the singers, and all these different areas. He said he had like 4 or 5 rookies, and I wouldn't have been able to tell. The mix sounded really nice. The screens were perfectly on. They had a widescreen in the center, or beyond widescreen, more of a cinematic size screen, and then 2 widescreens on each side with lyrics and IMEG video, and it was really cool. And they did a nice long worship set, and then they did special music with a offering time, and then they did their teaching time. And it was pretty simple, but one of the best things about it was distraction free. There was nothing too glitzy or glamorous about it, but it wasn't underdone by any means. The music sounded great. They had great transitions. It all flowed really well together. And the teaching was great, and the special song they did during the offering time was a Rascal Flatts song, and that sounded really good, and it was just very distraction-free. You didn't really notice any transitions. You didn't really pay attention to weird things going wrong. The lyrics were always on the screen when they're supposed to be, so hats off to East Lake for providing a distraction-free worship environment. And one thing I want to encourage you guys to do is take some time and get away and go to somebody else's church. And especially try to go to somebody else's church that's in a different community than yours, or a different styled church than yours. Now, they played video clips and they did stuff that we do at Watermark, but it was still different because of the size and because of the fact that they're in San Diego and the environment and culture that they're surrounded with. But I would encourage you guys, just to get away, find another church to go to one weekend a year. And it will give you some great perspective on what you're doing and what you love about what you're doing and what you don't like about what you're doing. And I got a lot of that for Watermark and for the show, of just things to think about and think through from being at East Lake. So that was one really great experience. Also, while I was there, I got some time to take a ton of footage, which I'm going to give you a free worship background later on in the show from all of that footage, as well as I got to play with my new toy. Now, I said that our Sunday morning computer died, and I was wondering what software to change to because we had been on MediaShout 2.5 for quite a long time, and I didn't know what to upgrade to and was just wondering what you guys were using. And my leaning was towards going with ProPresenter. I had heard great things about it, and then I got a lot of comments from people saying to use ProPresenter. So I got my new toy. I got my first ever Mac. I got a MacBook Pro, and it's a 2.4 gigahertz, 2 gigs of RAM, nothing super special. But I had seen a post in a forum about a guy who said, I bought ProPresenter and a Mac and hadn't ever used it, and we used it on this really big, we used it on Easter Sunday, I think, was the first time they had ever used it live in their worship environment. Well, I kind of pulled the same thing. When I got back from California, we used ProPresenter in a big celebration Sunday that we had done live the first time with no problems. And it is a great piece of software. I'm going to keep going through it and finding all the things that I love. And there are things that I don't like about it. And I'm going to try to give you guys a really good review of that, as well as a really good review of MediaShout 3 and kind of how they stack up against each other as kind of the industry leaders in presentation software. So you can look forward to that one in the future. The other thing that I got to do on my trip was read/listen to some books. I got halfway through Tim Stevens' book, Pop Goes the Church. And it's been a really interesting read. And after I'm done with it, I'm going to give you guys a full review of what I think and some of the great points and some of the not so great points and a really good, honest opinion about that book and about some of the ideas that he presents in this pop culture church-centered book. As well as the other book I got to listen to from audible.com was Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And it was a really interesting book. It made me think a lot more about the church and America and our culture of consumerism and our domination of the world. And it's a really interesting read. If you're a Shane Claiborne kind of guy or person, this would be a really good book for you to check out and listen to or read. It was a New York Times bestseller years back, but I just started listening to that one. Haven't finished it, but it's been really great so far. So those are just some things from the road, and I'll be unpacking more of them in the future as they become more relevant to topics we're talking about. So those are a few things from my journeys to Las Vegas and San Diego. Well, one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about pertains to our last gathering. We just did a gathering. It was called Because of You, and it was kind of an end-of-year celebration / thank you to all of our volunteers. And we normally meet in a cafeteria, and we have 2 gatherings, and we had 1 gathering instead of 2, and we did it inside of a performing arts center at the school. And it was just a great party. And getting ready for it, we did a video that was kind of this thank you, an inspirational video that talked about, just thanking people and saying that Watermark wouldn't exist without our volunteers. And I mean, right away, I want to encourage you to make sure that your volunteers know that. And if you're a volunteer, you are very much important and very well needed in the church. And I thank you if your person above you hasn't thanked you, but I thank you for what you do in your church. But we did this, this gathering, and we put together this video, and it was supposed to be footage of all of these different areas, from setup and tear down to our middle school and high school to hospitality and greeters and kids ministry and all of these different things, trailer pulling. And as we went through it, what I realized is we didn't have very good footage of a lot of this stuff. And we didn't do a really good job of taking images of a lot of the smaller areas. We had really great footage of our kids ministry and our middle school ministry. And I shot time-lapse footage that's going on behind me here of our setup time, which turned out to be really cool looking, of us setting up in this cafeteria. But besides that, a lot of the other footage we didn't really have any. And I looked back, and we didn't have any photos of our life groups. We had really small amount of photos of other things. We didn't really have video of a lot of things. And part of the reason we didn't have video is because I had been using somebody else's camera, which was a HDV camera. So it uses DV tapes but records in high definition. Well, we just have a DV camera, and then I got my high def camera, which isn't HDV. And so now all of those tapes, I can't read on anything, and I can't get the footage off without an HDV camera. So all of that footage I couldn't use anymore. So the thing I want to encourage you guys today is to archive your church, to document what's going on, and document the small things. And don't document, oh, this room looked really cool. I mean, one shot of that is good, but document people doing what they're supposed to, what they're volunteering and doing. Take pictures of the greeters at the door shaking hands. Take pictures of people setting up your food or putting out bulletins or whatever you want to call them. Take images of that kind of stuff. I mean, digital cameras are really cheap. You can get a really high megapixel, really cheap digital camera that you can pass around, but make sure that all the areas of your church are getting documented, because you're going to look back and say, we don't really have anything to show. I mean, people's lives have been changed, but as far as inspiring others to want to make that change in somebody else's life or to live out what God's called them to do, you don't really have material for that. So one thing that you can do, and that I just got, is get an external hard drive and start backing up to that. Or if you have like a church network drive, start backing up to that. I got this my book. It's a 1 terabyte drive. If you go to newegg.com, you can find this drive on there for $198.99. It's formatted down to 931 gigs of space. So that's a lot of space for video and a lot of space for photos. It'll still fill up. It's USB 2.0, plugs into Mac or PC compatible. It's cross-platform. But I would encourage you guys to get a good external hard drive and to really start backing up all of that stuff so you have something to show for what's going on in your church, because it just felt really weird to me to like sit there and say, let's put together this video and not have any footage to put in it for a lot of areas. I felt really bad that we hadn't done a good job documenting this. So I want to encourage you guys to document what's going on in your church and get a good archive of what's going on. Well, the last time we did a nice big full episode, we talked about audio and video and some of the copyright stuff that goes with that. Well, today we're going to be talking about audio mixing and taking that background song or sound and mixing that with maybe a voiceover video track that you've recorded. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump inside Premiere Pro CS3 and work with the audio mixer. Now, this feature has been enabled in Premiere Pro since version 6, which is the version before the CS editions. And this also is inside Final Cut, and it's been there since version 4 of Final Cut. I don't know if it's in programs like Sony Vegas or some of the other software programs that are out there, but I do know that it's in Premiere Pro and Final Cut. So let's jump inside Premiere Pro, and we're going to go to Window and down to Audio Mixer, and that will pull up our audio mixer. And what you'll see is I have a sequence set up here with a green screen shot of our pastor Steve on the green screen, and it's a thing of him talking, just kind of walking around and giving this inspirational talk. And then also I have this audio track that I got from stock20.com, and it's just kind of this inspirational light audio that builds at certain points and that kind of thing. And what we want to do is have that audio build with what he's saying. So when he's talking a little softer at the beginning, it's just kind of light and it builds up with him. And the way we're going to do that is through the audio mixer. And this audio mixer looks like just like a soundboard. You have faders, you have, you get your mute, solo, and record, because you actually can record audio from a microphone inside Premiere. And that's what this record button at the bottom is actually for recording audio from outside. To record automation, you don't need to use that. You just need to enable your tracks the right way. And the way to do that is right here in this drop down, and you'll see we have off, read, latch, touch, and write. So track 2, I'm going to set to write. And what we'll do is I'm going to actually pull this fader all the way down right now, and I'm going to bring my playhead of my track all the way to the beginning and hit the space bar. And now I'm going to slowly fade up this audio, and you can hear him talking. And, let's say he's not really at an inspirational point, but let's say he's getting really inspiring. We can start to fade this all the way up, and, it's really building up, and we're good to go. So we've done a little mixing there. Now if we go back, you can see this has automatically switched itself to touch, which I'll explain in a minute. But if we go back and hit play on our timeline, you'll see this fader automatically move its way up. And so what you can do with this is you can take your video, lay out your soundtrack, lay out your video, get it all cut correctly, and then you can go in and you can master all of your audio and set your automation of your faders. Now, the other versions in here besides read and write, read would just basically read what it's supposed to do, and write actually records the movements. What touch does is touch enables you to do it and then go back and like take points and say, that's a little too hot. I'll grab the fader at that point and move it. And when you're done moving it, it will move back to its previous position. So if we were on touch and we're playing right now and we see that our fader starts moving, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I can just grab it, pull it back down, hold on to it, and as soon as I let go of it, it's going to automatically jump up to its next level that I set it at. Now, touch or latch is just like touch, except it doesn't go back to its previous state. It doesn't go back to the last recorded state. It just stays where it's at. So if we switch this to latch and we move back in our timeline a little bit and we see that it's playing, I can grab it, let go, and it's just going to stay there forever, which is really nice if you know that you want to bring it up at the end of your song and just leave it at full. You could do it at latch, grab it, fade it up, leave it, and it would stay good. So that's just a quick little look at automation inside Premiere Pro. It's a really handy thing to make your audio and your vocals work smoothly together so people can hear what's important but have that inspirational stuff going underneath it. The other thing it comes in handy for is if you don't have an audio mixing program, you can actually do audio mixing inside here and do some multi-track mixing of different things. So check out the automation inside Premiere Pro or inside Final Cut. Remember, you can go to academicsuperstore.com and search for the Adobe suites and get a nonprofit version of them for around just over $600. So make sure to check that out. And there's some automation for you. Well, this week's inspiration comes in form of Flash web design. Flash web design is what I do. You can check out our church websites at iammark.com and wearemark.com, and those are all done with Flash. And I Am Marked is a very pretty site, and We Are is very informational, and they're okay, but compared to the stuff that you'll find at this site, the FWA.com, which is the Favorite Website Awards, which are all Flash websites, which are unbelievable. And you can check out some really cool stuff here. They have a site of the month and site of the day. Every single day they put a new site up, and it's amazing what great sites are on the web. One of the coolest things that the FWA just recently started was FWA Theater, and it's at fwatheater.com. And what this is a video site. And you'll find some really great stuff from brand new TV advertisements to show reels from design studios like Shiloh and Buck to just animation pieces that college students are doing. One of the latest ones that I just saw was this Clusta video. It's an experimental video done to a song, and it's done by Place. And it's a really cool vibe. It's a very ambient, and I just really like it. It just seems like a cool way you could throw some sweet typography in this and have this just be a cool like teaching video. So I would encourage you to check out fwatheater.com and thefwa.com for some great websites and great videos. Well, this week's freebie is a video that I shot. It's a background worship loop for your collection and your arsenal. This was shot when I was out in Las Vegas, and it is a waterfall with some rocks, and it's nicely colored, and I think it looks pretty nice, and I think it's a good addition, and I'll have it in widescreen and in full screen in H.264 and as a WMV, so you can get what format fits you right, and I'll have it at all the different definitions and everything your heart might desire. So go over to the website and download this freebie to add to your arsenal. Well, Well, we want to thank our sponsor of worshiphousemedia.com, resources for the creative church. Head over to worshiphousemedia.com and check out this great new video from Restoration Videos about worship. And it's got really great video visuals to go along with a great message, and it looks really well done, very professional, shot on a green screen with different testimony kind of stuff, and the visuals that are going on behind are really nice looking. So I would encourage you to check that out. But the biggest thing is head over there and use our promo code and get yourself 25% off when you use the promo code CMDTV1. So use the promo code CMDTV1, get yourself 25% off anything at worshiphousemedia.com. So check out the restoration video, buy some software, get whatever you need, but use our promo code and check out worshiphousemedia.com. Well, it's so good to be back doing the show again. My couple weeks off were really nice, but it's good to be back in front of the camera making shows for you guys. And I want to hear more from you guys. You guys do a great job of sending emails, but I would love to get more questions and ideas and reviews of products that you want to know about, or things that you've always wondered, can you do it? Like, I always wanted to do water projection and actually project on a sheet of water. I saw it at Disney one time, and I've yet to try it, but crazy ideas like that, send those things in and we're going to try do them for you. So there's a lot of cool stuff that I have coming down the line for you guys, but I would love to hear from you. You can send me an email, brad@ChurchMediaDesign.tv. Also at the website, you can leave comments there. And we want to give a shout out to Kyle Bruns, which is the winner of the worshiphousemedia.com t-shirt from our first episode of Where's Whitey. So Kyle, you are our winner. But for the second week, we haven't declared a winner yet because of when we taped the show. We didn't have a full week to give everybody to submit. So go watch Where's Whitey Part 2 and say where I'm standing in front of. Watch the episode and leave a comment. You can cheat and look at other people's comments and just copy them for all I care. I will randomly select somebody from that list, and we'll give away another t-shirt next week. So head over to the website, leave comments there about that. You can also keep in touch over Skype. I'm actually getting rid of AIM, so if you were in touch with me on AIM, I'm getting rid of it because I just don't really use it. Also, you can check out our Facebook fan page and leave comments on there. I check that regularly, so keep in touch on Facebook as well. But I just want to thank you guys for tuning into another episode, and I look forward to coming episodes over this summer, and hopefully we can continue to create those distraction-free worship environments in your church and help you guys to be creative on a budget in a lot cheaper way. So as for me and the three wise men and Jesus, we're saying see you later.